Cinderella. There was once a kind and beautiful girl called Cinderella. She lived in a big house with her wicked stepmother and her 2 stepsisters. Her stepmother didn't like her and made Cinderella do all of the housework. All day she brushed, mopped, scrubbed and washed. Poor Cinderella. Her stepsisters didn't have to do a single thing. They were lazy and mean. They spent their time dressing up in fancy dresses, posing in mirrors and poking fun at poor Cinderella and her plain clothes. One day, a letter arrived at the house. It was an invitation from the king. That evening there was to be a ball in honour of the prince. All of the girls in the kingdom were invited, and the prince hoped to choose one of them to be his wife. Everyone in the house was excited. The 2 stepsisters immediately began planning what they were going to wear. "May I go too?" asked Cinderella politely. "You may go if you finish all of your housework on time," replied the stepmother. Cinderella immediately set to work, brushing and mopping the floor, making the beds, dusting the rooms. She hummed as she worked, thinking about the exciting evening ahead. What Cinderella did not realise is that her wicked stepmother had no intention of letting her go to the ball. She was not going to allow Cinderella to outshine her lovely daughters at the ball. So whenever Cinderella thought that she had finished her chores, her stepmother would find her something else to do. Cinderella even had to help her stepsisters put on their ball gowns and do their hair and makeup. By the time Cinderella had finished her housework for the day, her stepsisters had already left and the palace ball had begun. In tears, Cinderella ran outside crying, "Why does my stepmother treat me like this?" She wailed out loud, "My stepsisters are at the ball, having a wonderful time, and I am left home alone, wearing these horrible rags. Oh, why do wishes never come true?" She wondered out loud. "Never?" asked a little voice. Cinderella looked around, confused. Finally, she saw a little old lady standing next to her with a wand in her hand. It was her fairy godmother. She wanted to help kind, sad Cinderella. "My dear," she said, "you shall go to the ball." With a wave of her wand, she turned a pumpkin into a beautiful carriage. 6 little mice that were scurrying around Cinderella's feet suddenly became horses, and a lizard turned into a handsome carriage driver. Cinderella could hardly believe her eyes. She had never known that magic could really truly exist. Then she looked down at the rags that she was wearing. They were dirty and torn from so many hours of hard housework. Once again, she felt a sadness in her heart. "Why, thank you, Fairy Godmother. It's so kind of you, and I am so very grateful. I really am. But I cannot turn up at a royal ball in these rags, and I haven't got time to change into anything else. Not that I have anything much nicer anyway," she added sadly. The Fairy Godmother smiled and lifted her wand again. This time she waved it at Cinderella, and immediately the girl was wearing a beautiful new ball gown and a pair of shiny glass slippers. Her hair was tied up elegantly and her skin glowed. She looked like a true princess. "Now," warned the Fairy Godmother, "before you leave, you must know that this magic can only last until midnight. When the clock strikes 12, the magic will begin to wear off. Go and enjoy your evening, but make sure that you are home by then." With that, the Fairy Godmother blew a kiss at the speechless Cinderella and disappeared. When Cinderella arrived at the ball, all heads turned to look at her. For Cinderella was a kind and loving girl, and this kindness shone through. She was easily the most beautiful girl in the room. The prince also spotted Cinderella and asked her to dance. They danced together the whole night, and the prince soon realised that he was falling in love with Cinderella. The two stepsisters didn't even recognise Cinderella out of her rags, but wondered who the beautiful stranger was who had captivated the prince's heart. The evening passed quickly as Cinderella and the prince were having so much fun. At midnight, though, Cinderella remembered the Fairy Godmother's words and ran quickly away before the magic wore out. In her rush to leave the ball, she lost one of her glass slippers on the palace steps. The next day, the prince and his men went to all of the houses in the kingdom, trying to find the owner of the glass slipper. When they reached Cinderella's house, the two stepsisters both tried to squeeze their big feet into the glass slipper, but it didn't fit. The prince was about to leave when Cinderella came into the room, dressed in her usual rags and carrying a mop and a bucket. "Please," she asked, "may I try?" Her stepmother scoffed and looked Cinderella up and down. "Ha!" she said. "You? Why would a girl like you want to try the slipper? You're no match for a smart, elegant prince." But the prince was sure that he recognised Cinderella, even in her rags. He was sure that this was the girl he had fallen in love with the night before. He looked at the stepmother and said, "All girls in the kingdom may try the glass slipper," and he smiled at Cinderella. Cinderella sat down on a little step, and one of the king's men slid the glass slipper onto her foot. Of course, it fit perfectly. The stepmother and stepsisters were furious, but the prince was delighted. He knew that he had found his princess at last. The prince and Cinderella were married soon after and lived together happily in the palace, and Cinderella didn't ever have to see her wicked stepmother or stepsisters again.